All right, we are live.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'd like to call to order the May 12th meeting of the Common Council. If you will please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag of the United States of America, to the republic for
which is stand nation
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, if you'll please read the instructions and call the roll.
This meeting is being recorded for rebroadcast. We ask everyone to speak clearly one at a time. Please state your name when called upon by the presiding chair. Members of the public can access this meeting by telephone, Zoom, and/or the City of Norwalk YouTube channel. There's a link with specific instructions and links at www.norwalkt.org/meetings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you'll call the roll.
Sure. Mr. Burnett,
present.
Ms. Johnson,
Present.
Mr. Langella,
Present.
Mr. Santinelli,
Present.
Ms. Smith,
Here.
Mr. Hewelman,
Present.
Mr. Roberts,
Present.
Mr. Dumas,
Present.
Ms. Young,
Here.
Mr. Kites,
Here.
Mr. Theodorides,
Here.
Mr. Kicken, I see you.
You call my
You're
name
here.
down, I couldn't hear it, sorry.
I did, I'm sorry. Mr. Keegan,
Here,
Mr. Sirenides,
Here.
Mr. Livingston,
Here.
Ms. Shanahan.
Here.
15 present, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. If somebody would bring up the agenda, if you have it, so I can.
Should be acceptance of the minutes of April 28th, Mayor.
Okay, well, okay, so next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of April 28th. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Livingston. Any corrections, deletions, omissions, additions? Ms. Young?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor, what did you say?
Okay. Seeing none.
Oh, approval. Oh, aye.
Seeing none, Ms. King, if you'll do a roll call vote for the approval of the minutes.
Mr. Burnett,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Langella,
Yes.
Mr. Santinelli,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Huberman,
Aye.
Mr. Robert,
Aye.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Kites,
Here.
Mr. Theodorides,
Yes.
Mr. Keegan,
yes,
Mr. Sirenides,
Yes.
Mr. Livingston,
Yes.
Ms. Shanahan,
Yes.
15 votes, you have a quorum, it's unanimous.
Thank you. The minutes passed unanimously. Okay, if we have okay. So the next item on the agenda, we have two people listed as appointments. I am going to withdraw the name of D. Seeley Hubbard to the Conservation Commission as an alternate. He has indicated that he is unable to serve at this time due to other commitments, so that will be removed. And I will look for a motion for Mr. Matt Pence for the Conservation Commission as a regular member. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Moved by Ms. Shanahan. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? No opposition, no abstention. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations to Mr. Pence, and thank you for your willingness to serve. Next item on the agenda. If you'll bring it up. Mayor's remarks. Just a couple of remarks. As you know, we put out a daily briefing last night. I held a town hall meeting, and the police chief and Senator Duff were my guests on my town hall meeting. Since yesterday, on my briefing for this evening, since yesterday, there were 8 new positive cases in Norwalk, bringing the total positive cases to 1,840. Fortunately and thankfully, there were no new deaths to report. We released the Reopen Norwalk plan today, and it's focused on municipal services and facilities. It's a 4-phase plan that is tentatively scheduled to start on May 20th. There will be more details on the city website, but we planned our reopening plan, or we tailored it after the state of Connecticut and their 4-phase plan and the timing and the criterion that needs to be met in order to move from one phase to the other. So we're looking at opening beaches and parks and city hall and other city buildings and the library over the next couple of weeks. And it'll be based on how we move forward, whether there's reduced hospitalizations and so forth. So recently, we've noticed that we have had a reduction in hospitalizations in the area, and that's certainly a good thing. But I want to caution the public that we're still nowhere near out of the woods. We hear stories of other locations where they are opening too quickly, and they're seemingly having spikes in the number of cases that they're seeing. So we want to do this cautiously, and I've mentioned this over and over again, that I'm going to pay attention to the medical professionals, the people that study how these viruses spread, how they trend, so that we don't make a mistake and open too quickly and end up being back where we were, or perhaps even worse. So I really do appreciate the public's patience. I know this is a very frustrating time for all of us. We would like nothing better than to open up the city of Norwalk again, to get back to some degree of normalcy. But if we do that too quickly, I fear that it'll be a mistake. So as I mentioned before, there's no Democratic or Republican way to deal with the virus. We need to work together. We need to listen to each other. We need to find the best practices. This is a situation where we're writing the manual on a daily basis. We do not have a guidebook on how to handle this. We have to learn on a daily basis, and every single day we learn something new. Just yesterday, I found that some people were walking into an emergency room. They had virtually a very low level, a dangerously low level of oxygen in their bloodstream, to a point where they should have been experiencing organ failure, but they weren't. They were speaking, they were coherent, they were ambulatory. So we don't know how this is going to affect us. Look what it's doing to some of the children in Westchester County and in those areas. And we do have one case now in Yale, New Haven has reported. So we want to make sure that we understand how dangerous this situation is. We want to make sure that everybody does his or her part to help protect our community. Remember, this is not something about, okay, you're having to wear a mask and it's unfortunate and I don't want to wear a mask because it's inconvenient, it's not comfortable. It's not about any one individual. It's about each one of us. So if one of us gets infected with the coronavirus and contracts the virus, it's who we're going to impact, who we're going to impact later on. Are we going to go home and bring it to an elderly adult or somebody with underlying medical conditions? Are we going to cause them to be exposed and have a serious case? So let's all do our part. We've done so much so far. Let's go back to where let's get back to where we need to be by everybody doing his or her part. So I want to thank everybody. I drive around Norwalk on a daily basis and I look and see what's happening. I'm pleased to report that most people are complying with the governor's executive orders, the orders that we've put out, the restrictions we've put out. It's only going to be a little bit longer. We've come so far. Let's not back off now. So that's all I have, and I will turn it over to the council president, Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a little problem with getting the agenda up there, and I believe we missed public participation. So I just wanted to make sure that if there was anyone that had emailed or had something to say, that they could do that.
Yes, this is the moderator, Larry. We do have one person, Diane Laricella, would like to speak. Go ahead, Diane.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
That's the latest that's the latest way people greet each other now when they're on these kinds of calls. Anyway, for the record, my name is Diane Laricella, 49 Taylor Avenue. It's kind of a moot point at this stage because I have 3 quick items I wanted just to mention that are on the agenda, and I request that you give them some thought. I've spoken with some of you about these items, so I just wanted to be on the record about them. The first one is the vote that you'll probably put together by consensus on the issue of the capital budget. In the past, I've spoken about the need to put the use and purchase of artificial turf on hold unless and until there's a thorough neutral party health and safety review of the components of artificial turf. Even though I have requested this at budget meetings, planning commission meetings with the mayor and others, including the health director, I have not found that this has been done. So I ask that you at least put in a covenant that there must be a request to look for alternative materials so that our children are not subjected to dangerous materials. Number 2, you are going to be voting in, I'm sure, all of the land use and building management, school design and renovation programs. I ask that caveat be included that green building design measures must be optimized, as they are not. Now, you will hear from Alan Lowe tonight. I see him on the screen now, and others, that all that could be done is being done. And most recently, and I look forward to having a conversation with Tom Livingston, the Jefferson School does not save enough money for the citizens and optimize. Lastly, so we will have conversations in the future about green building design, and I have forwarded all of you information. Lastly, I wanted to, and most importantly, tonight you already voted on the issue of Mr. Pence's being added to the Conservation Commission. As a Democrat and as a woman, I want to say I am quite disappointed with the continuing way that the administration and our council have allowed white men to be appointed when there are many women of diverse backgrounds and demographic that would be qualified if they only knew that these openings had occurred. And I am asking tonight that this council, in no uncertain terms, request in writing that the city clerk and the assistant city clerk develop an ongoing list on the website of current openings, and they must be known 1, 2, or 3 months in advance. I also look forward to speaking with you, Barbara Smith, as council president and as a woman, about how we can find solutions to this. You will hear if it's talked about again. I know, Mayor, and I have applauded your efforts to hire wonderful women in important roles professionally in your administration. But what has not still been done yet, and we need to have a summit to discuss this, is appointments. There are still at least a dozen important boards and commissions and agencies where there are either zero women rather, or 1 or 2 women. And that is not good enough for we Democrats. And I hope you'll agree, but we have to have an open communication. No one called me about this, and you know it's important to me. And I'm hoping we can go forward, especially in this time of COVID, and work together. And some of you need to return phone calls. And I lastly want to say, I want to thank those of you that did. You know who you are, and I appreciate you all. It's not easy to be a councilman or a mayor or a city clerk or Alan Lowe right now, but we citizens have a right to know things, and we have a right to have fairness when appointments are done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Laricella. I know any other people signed to speak up, Mr. Manzi? I know the city clerk has a letter. The city clerk has a letter to read into the record. You're on mute.
I'm mute. I'm sorry. No, I'm not.
Now
Okay.
you are not.
This is from Richard Bonifant, 17 Park Hill Avenue, Norwalk. May 11th, Common Council members regarding council meeting, May 12, 2020. On the council agenda under Public Works, you've listed an honorary naming of a portion of Chestnut Street. I believe this item should be withdrawn from the agenda because the procedure to bring the item forward is contrary to the process the ordinance specifies. From Chapter 95-39B, a public hearing is required. Prior to forwarding the naming request to the full Common Council for approval, the hearing shall be held at a regular meeting of the Public Works Committee, and the scheduling of said hearing shall have been approved at a previous regular meeting by a majority vote of the committee. As shown, the vote to schedule a public hearing must be done at a regular committee meeting. However, the vote to approve the hearing took place at a special meeting on April 13, 2020. The ordinance was written to ensure items like this were not fast-tracked through hastily scheduled special meetings designed to speed up the process. Please don't take advantage of the currently limited public participation by skipping the procedures required by ordinance. If you start breaking the rules for one person, you set a bad precedent and make it more difficult to justify compliance on future matters. Ignoring the city code sets a poor example by the council when you ask the public to obey the local laws. Thank you, Richard Bonifant.
Thank you, Mr. Bonifant. Any further public comment?
No, there is not, Mayor.
Okay, so seeing none, now I will turn it over to the council president, Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. If I could just address both Ms. Laricella and Mr. Bonifant. Diane, if I'd like you to know that Ms. Young, Ms. Shanahan, and Ms. Johnson and I had a Zoom meeting today to talk about not only getting more women interested in boards and commissions, that is one of the problems, but also the process by which the appointments happen. And trust that we are on it, and this is something we care very deeply about, not just increasing the number of women on boards and commissions, because we absolutely need female perspective in making some of these major decisions, but also increasing the number of minorities, which is equally, if not even more important, because we have so few minorities. So trust that we will continue working and fighting for that. And I would also just like to mention to Mr. Bonifant that we thank you for catching an oversight. I beg the public's forgiveness in managing in our little glitchy well, I don't want to say little, glitchy mistakes that happen because we are trying to manage work that is ordinarily handled in person where we are seeing each other, where we're looking at the agenda, and a few mistakes are going to happen. And so we hear you, and I think that you will find that we are addressing these issues as we go through the consent calendar. So that being said, I will turn the consent over to Ms. Shanahan.
And I will read the consent calendar. So we're starting with section 7A under the Public Works Committee. Item number 1 is we are going to consent to table this back to the Public Works Committee. And item number 1 is approve the request for the honorary naming of the portion of Chestnut Street from Monroe Street to Merritt Place to Officer Cesar Ramirez Drive. Item number 7A2, we are also consenting to table back to the Common Council meeting dated May 26, 2020. Item 2 reads, authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to enter into a temporary right of access and entry agreement with Sono TOD LLC to enter over a certain portion of 30 Monroe Street for construction access purposes. See attached memorandum of Jessica Casey dated April 30, 2020. Item 7A3, 8-24 referral, DPW, temporary right of entry and access agreement over 30 Monroe Street, report and recommendation action. 7B1, authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a third amendment to the management agreement with Odyssey Learning, Inc. for the operation of early childhood programming and Nathaniel Ellie Center to extend the terms of the agreement from July 1, 2020 to June 30, 2022. All remaining agreement terms to remain unchanged. 7B2, authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a third amendment to the management agreement with Growing Seeds 2 Child Development Center, Inc. for the operation of early childhood programs at Benjamin Franklin Center to extend the terms of the agreement from July 1, 2020 to June 30, 2022. All remaining agreement terms to remain unchanged. 7B3A, authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a sole source agreement with Gabrielli Truck Sales of Milford for the purchase of a propane-fueled box truck replacement for a total not to exceed $71,832. Funds are available in the account noted. 7B3B, authorize the NPS Facilities Department to issue additional charges for truck body lettering for a total not to exceed $1,700. Funds are available in the account noted. 7B4A, authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Innovative Engineering Services, LLC, to provide building commissioning services for the Jefferson Elementary School. Renovate as new project for a total not to exceed $58,300. Funds are available in the account noted. 7B4B, authorize a contingency for additional services as may be required for a total not to exceed $5,000. 7B5A, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order with Omnidata for wireless access points for the Ponus Ridge School Addition and Alterations Project for a total sum of $91,368.44. Funds are available in the account noted. 7B5B, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a change order on purchase order for a total not to exceed $4,568. 7B6A, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order with CDW-G LLC for charging carts for the Ponus Ridge School Addition and Alterations Project for a total of $27,300. Funds are available in the account noted. 7B6B, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a change order on purchase order for a total not to exceed $1,365. 7B7A, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order with Raptor Technologies for the visitor management system for the Ponus Ridge School Addition and Alterations Project for a total sum of $1,408. Funds are available in the account as noted. 7B7B, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a change order on purchase orders for a total not to exceed $140. 7B8A, resolve that the Norwalk Facilities Construction Commission, NFCC, is hereby established as the building committee with regard to the new Cranberry Elementary School, new school construction project. 7B8B, Resolved that the Norwalk Common Council hereby authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the new Cranberry Elementary School new school construction project. 7B 8C. Resolved that the City of Norwalk Common Council authorizes the City of Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the new Cranberry Elementary School new school construction project. 7B 9A. Resolved that the Norwalk Facilities Construction Commission, NFCC, is hereby established as the building committee with regard to the Narragansett Elementary School kitchen addition and cafeteria alteration project. 7B 9B. Resolved that the Norwalk Common Council hereby authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the Narragansett Elementary School kitchen addition and cafeteria alteration project. 7B 9C. Resolved that the City of Norwalk Common Council authorizes the City of Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the Narragansett Elementary School kitchen addition and cafeteria alteration project. 7B 10. Authorize the purchasing agent to increase change orders allowance to Intical Corporation for the purchase of various furniture items for the Ponish School addition and alterations project from $11,648 to $20,000. Account as noted. 7B 11. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Orion Security Services, Inc. to provide security systems at A, City Hall, daytime and nighttime security guard services. Base contract services for fiscal year 2020 through 2021 shall not exceed $101,836,080. Fiscal year 2021 through 2022, $103,500,000, 80 cents. Fiscal year 2022 through 2023, $105,580.80 with 2 one-year options for 2023 and 24 and 2024 through 2025. Account as noted. 11B. Norwalk Health Department daytime security and guard services. The base contract services for fiscal year 2020 through 2021 shall not exceed $32,730.88. Fiscal year 2021 through 2022, $33,313.28. Fiscal year 2022 through 2023, $34,041.28 with 2 one-year options for 2023 through 2024 and 2024 through 2025. Account as noted. 7B 12. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an amendment to Guardian Service Industries, Inc. contract to provide building management services to extend the agreement period from July 1, 2020 to December 31, 2020 for a total not to exceed $945,590.19. All remaining terms of the agreement to remain unchanged. Funds are available from various 2020 through 2021 operating budget accounts. 7B 13A. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Innovative Engineering Services, LLC, to provide building commissioning services for the Norwalk Maritime Aquarium Functional Replacement Project for a total not to exceed $37,150. Funds are available from the state's Maritime Aquarium Functional Replacement Project account as noted. 7B 13B. Authorize an additional professional services contingency allowance for a total not to exceed $3,000. 7B 14. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents necessary for the sale of city surplus properties located on Boughton Street, District 5, Block 81, lots 169 and 173 to A1Z7 LLC for a total of $34,000. That's the end of the consent calendar.
Very well done, Ms. Shanahan. Clear and concise and long, and well done. You didn't miss it. Didn't miss a step there. I would like to take a roll call vote for the consent calendar. Mr. Burnett,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Langella,
Aye.
Mr. Sacchinelli,
Aye.
Mr. Hoovelman,
Aye.
Mr. Roberts,
Aye.
Mr. Dumas,
Aye.
Ms. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Kites,
Yes.
Mr. Theodorides,
Yes.
Mr. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Sirenides,
Yes.
Mr. Livingston,
Yes.
Ms. Shanahan,
Yes.
and Ms. Smith, yes. I think I pronounced every person's name right. Okay, consent calendar passes unanimously. Back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Now, the first part of the reading of the consent calendar, I didn't have the calendar up in front of me. From what I can see, the only two items off are the Planning Committee and the Finance Committee. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the Planning Committee, Mr. Kites, item number 7. Mr. Kites.
If I may, Mayor, I'll be recusing myself before Mr. Kites reads the item because of I am an employee not only of Norwalk Public Schools, but specifically Norwalk High School. And so in order to avoid any conflict or appearance of influence of any kind, I will be recusing myself. So I'm going to leave the room now. And if I could ask for someone to please text me when it's time to come back.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Let the record show that Ms. Smith has recused herself on the Planning Committee agenda. Mr. Kites, item 7C1.
Okay. Do you mind putting the item up on the screen, somebody? Greg? I'm sorry, I don't have the item in front of me. There you go. Okay, I'm going to read the...
Down,
There.
7C. Down. There you go. Right there. Whoop. Right there.
Thank you. Item C1, approve the 2020-21 capital budget of the city of Norwalk with modifications as outlined in the attached memo. Mayor, if I may, I'm going to move that item and briefly speak to it.
Mr. Kites has moved the item. Mr. Kites, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just going to, well, first, the recommended budget for 2020-21, we're looking at a roughly $154 million capital budget requests, and $25 million, let it be noted, will be coming from grants and other non-operational fund sources. And I'm just going to briefly go through the highlights, if you will, of the capital budget, starting with the paving and sidewalk. After extensive discussion in committee, the committee and the caucus felt comfortable moving forward with the amount allocated to paving and sidewalk. We found we're going to be able to maintain our roads and also with the least amount of disruption to our residents. We know we have a lot of state roads being done this year, and there's a lot of construction going on out there. So we feel with the money allocated for both paving and sidewalks, we'll be able to accomplish all our goals, which is great. Next highlight is the Watercourse Maintenance. This project has been many years in the making. I want to thank Anthony Carr, Mayor Rilling, members of the DPW committee. We took a long time to get to this. There was the planning phase. There's a whole lot involved into getting to this part, but I'm glad to finally see that we're at implementation. And I know the folks of Cranberry area, Northern, East Norwalk will be very happy to see, apologize. A little bit of bad signal, apologize. Cranberry Northern part of East Norwalk will be very happy to see this pass tonight so they can have some relief to the constant flooding they have up in that area. Next, talking about Parks and Rec, we have the West Rock Soccer Complex, the Broad River Baseball Complex, and of course the turf softball field at Brian McMahon. These projects have been planned over the last few years. Money has been allocated. I'm sorry. The money has been allocated for the planning. So this has been a project getting to this point, but I'm also happy to see that we're able to move forward. And this is actually to implement it and to build these fields. So we're right at the finish line on those. And hopefully Corona will be behind us and kids will get to enjoy these new fields we'll have by the end of the summer. Last but not least, we have the Board of Ed budget. We've got a total of $102.7 million to go to the Board of Education for various things. The two largest items there are the new Cranberry School and, of course, the new Norwalk High School. And that 80% of that would be state funded. So, yeah, that's pretty much the highlights. We got, I think we made great progress, and we'll be able to serve our community and make sure the quality of life not just remains the same, but improves. And back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Kites. Mr. Kites has moved the item. Mr. Livingston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to echo some of Mr. Kites' comments. I mean, this is a very large budget with a lot of really important items, like John mentioned, the flood mitigation. Personally, I'm a strong supporter of the fields, including the Bryant Command softball field. But I want to note a couple things here. In particular, there's about $100 million for the major school building projects, including Norwalk High School, Cranberry, and the Narrowmate Kitchen, as John mentioned. Each of these, of course, is subject to approval by the state, as we discussed. But one thing I want to just note, the state requires that our action be project specific. Therefore, I'd like to ask that the minutes reflect that the $3.5 million identified under the Board of Education cafeteria kitchen renovations account in the proposed capital budget is clear that it's for the Narrowmate school kitchen cafeteria and related improvements project. The state requires that, so it doesn't have to come, they don't have to come back to us and ask what that money is for. And also, for those of us who were at the planning committee last week, we heard Mr. Dakowitz's presentation on the city's long-term borrowing capacity, which, to be honest, was a little sobering. And I just want to say that while I strongly support the proposed capital budget, I also recognize that we need to be prepared to make adjustments down the road should the financial situation of the city change because of COVID-19 or any other reason. But I think it's a good budget and I support it. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Keegan has raised his hand.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Regarding the capital budget, I just think that after listening to Mr. Dakowitz's presentation last week, and as Mr. Livingston said, very sobering. These are very, very different times. Nothing that any of us are prepared for or know what's going to happen in our future. And the one thing is, I read the papers like everyone else. I watch TV, I peek at social media, and I watch how the communities around us, most of them, many of them nationally and the state level, and even the ones very nearby, all of them are making cuts. And we're not. And what we're doing is we have people out of work, we have people who may not be able to pay your taxes, people who are not concerned about where they're going on vacation this year, but they're concerned about whether they're going to feed their families, whether they're going to be able to pay the rent. I think we are being a bit aloof, and we're walking about with not a care in the world. And I don't know why we think we're different, because I don't think we are. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keegan. Mr. Hoovelman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I have to echo some of what Mr. Keegan has just said, especially and what Mr. Livingston said about what Mr. Daskowitz brought forth to us at the planning meeting. It was indeed very sobering, and the idea of looking at the long term of what our potential is from a borrowing standpoint, should we find ourselves in difficult situations. The future is uncertain. And this is a phrase that, I've heard all of my life, and I completely understand it as it relates to the concept that the only constant that we actually have right now or at any time is change. But this crisis has defined a future of uncertainty, and to deny this uncertainty's existence and maintain a course that was started before the virus's impact may not prove to be prudent. I mean, it may get worse, it may stay the same, but I think that we can all agree that we're not going to be going back to January of 2020. And that's what concerns me most, is what is next. And that we are in a position to be able to help the most needy among us, should we get into that position where people can't pay their taxes, where unemployment is at a level and poverty becomes at a level that is unsustainable. I have to echo what Mr. Keegan did say about communities around us who are cutting, and we're not cutting, and it does concern me. I'm worried that we're plowing forward, and that's really what I have to say. I don't know, if you would ask me right now, what would you cut? I can't speak to that because I don't know what the future is. So in echoing what Mr. Livingston said, I think it's incredibly important that we look at this with an eye to the future, and that the reality is that some of these things here and other things that have passed are going to be the difficult decisions we are going to have to make in the next couple of years because of the crisis that we find ourselves in. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hooverman. I'm going to ask Mr. Dakowitz to speak in a moment, but I want everybody to know that this is an authorization to bond only. It's not an authorization to spend. And nobody knows more than I do about the need to be frugal and to make the tough decisions that we have to make should the situation change. But if we don't move some of these items forward, they cannot move forward at all. But if we move them forward and things change, we don't have to bond them, we don't have to proceed with them. It's kind of like saying, okay, I'm going to take out a home equity line of credit for $500,000 in my home. I wish. But if I don't need it, or if I'm not going to spend it, it sits there. And that's the same with this. We have been very carefully crafting this budget to make sure that we're going to take advantage of some of the situation. Well, first of all, some of the projects are going to help to boost our economy because it's going to be putting people back to work. Let's look at the new Norwalk High School as an example. If we're going to be getting a $225 million high school, and the state is going to reimburse us for 80% of that, that's an opportunity lost if we don't at least authorize the funding now. Later on, if things don't work out the way that we anticipate they will, well, then we don't have to issue the bonds, and we don't have to spend that money. So it's just, look at it as a placeholder, putting money in place in case it's needed. There's still a lot of different things that need to happen before we spend any of the money. And we've also looked at this very carefully. And because we are investing in our infrastructure that for years prior to this administration has been neglected. This didn't happen overnight. It's been neglected. Our schools have not been kept up. The money has been spent elsewhere. We are now taking the money and putting it in place, but we have a plan to get back to where we are going to need to be as far as the percentage of capital budget for the operating budget and the debt service. And we also know that we've consulted with our council, with our bond council, and found that we are not jeopardizing our AAA bond rating, which gives us the right to issue bonds at a much lower rate, interest rate. So look at it as putting a placeholder for the money if we're going to move forward. Nobody will be quicker to say, look, we can't afford this than me when it comes time to make the decisions whether or not we're going to spend the money or not. But if we don't put some of these placeholders in place, and if we don't invest in our infrastructure, we're not going to, it's either pay me now or pay me later. As I said, prior administrations have neglected our schools, have not put any pennies into our school. We don't need that. But if we don't do it now, down the road, it's going to cost us a lot more. So Mr. Dakowitz, if you'll just, unless anybody else has a question or a comment? Mr. Dakowitz?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. These are challenging times. I think I understand your concerns. I have to say, I've been here about a year, and I inherited a very financially strong city. We had a AAA bond rating. We had the largest rainy day fund in Connecticut. And we had a discipline of what we invest in and making sure we get a good return on investment. That is why we have weathered this storm better than our neighbors, and I will venture to say better than many other places around the country. There are many factors, one of which is because our primary revenue source is real estate taxes, and primarily residential real estate taxes. I've watched what other cities are going through. If they rely on income tax, if they rely on sales tax, they're getting hammered. And the concern is commercial real estate tax. And I think that we have a good balance and we're solid. So that's the foundation for our finances. We had a strong balance sheet, a rainy day fund, and we happen to be fortunate. Being in Connecticut, most of our revenues come from real estate taxes. Now, going forward, we have to watch what will happen. It's not just the capital budget, it's the operating budget and the interplay between the two. Remember, we could borrow on the capital budget, but we have to pay it as debt service in our operating budget. I've mentioned numerous times that our bond counsel and financial advisor have reviewed the data with me, and we have determined that $400 million is our debt ceiling. We are now at $260 million. If we go beyond that, it will be very hard to maintain the AAA bond rating, okay? That doesn't mean that we can't borrow and invest successfully in many of these projects. So from a capital project point of view, the approach I took with the mayor this year was to say, here's what we need to do. For example, the Cranberry School and Norwalk High School. If it doesn't get approved now, then we are not allowing ourselves to get reimbursed by the state. So that must be passed now. And as the mayor said, if circumstances don't work out the way we see, we do not necessarily have to move forward, but it buys us some time. That's part of what we're trying to do. Buy some time, see how the economy and events develop, and then we can make even better decisions down the road. We're looking for flexibility. So with this capital project, again, I'm new to the city. There are projects that have been planned for years and years, and now is the time we have to invest. There are things that are catch up because they were delayed in the past or neglected or underfunded. And then there are those for the future, which we anticipate. What are our options going forward? We can scale down projects. We can stretch out projects. Time is our friend. So if we stretch out the projects, we can fit them under a bond ceiling. As we pay off old bonds, we can issue new bonds for new projects. And that way we don't worry, we don't affect our AAA rating. We're able to manage the debt service on an annual basis. So we feel this is the best balance we could do at this point. We have the projects with placeholders because we feel that those investments are important. We will bond appropriately year by year to maintain that AAA bond rating. And I'm eager to go with the very low interest rates because that allows us a lower debt service cost. But at the same time, we're building in the flexibility that if circumstances change, we could also change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dakowitz. Any further comments or questions from the council? Seeing none, Ms. King, if you will call the roll on the vote.
Mr. Burnett,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Langella,
Yes.
Mr. Sacchinelli,
Yes.
Mr. Huvelman,
Aye.
Mr. Roberts,
Aye.
Mr. Dumas,
Aye.
Ms. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Kides,
Yes.
Mr. Theodorides,
Yes.
Mr. Keegan,
No.
Mr. Cyrenaides,
Yes.
Mr. Livingston,
Yes.
Ms. Shanahan.
Yes.
The vote is 14 aye, 1 no.
Thank you. The motion carries. Thank you for the council. And thank you for the planning committee and everybody for your hard work. And a special thanks to Mr. Dakowitz and Ms. Fogel and for my staff for trying to put together this budget that we feel will make a strong investment in the city of Norwalk infrastructure, most specifically our crumbling schools. So thank you very much, everybody. Next, I believe, is Mr. Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I believe in the last vote, we had one person, Ms. Smith, had recused herself, so it
Yes,
should be
Ms. Smith recused herself.
13 to 1.
So if somebody could call her, there she is. Yes, so one recusal. Or just not there, not voting.
Right. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item D on the finances, review the summary of fiscal year 2020, 2021 tentative approved operating budget adopted by the Board of Estimate and Taxation, BET, on May 4th, 2020, along with the associated mill rates by taxing district. The BET net appropriation is equal to the cap established by the Common Council on February 25th, 2020. So we are currently approaching the final phase of the 2020-2021 operating budget cycle, which the BT tentatively approved on May 4th. The BT did make some changes to the recommended operating budget in terms of line item allocation to various departments. However, they did maintain the overall cap, which was set by the Common Council in February. Our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Henry Dakowitz, will take us through some of those recommended changes by the BET, by departments. The next step will be for the BET to approve the final fiscal year 2020-2021 operating budget on Monday, June 1st, and the associated tax bills in each of the taxing districts. The associated tax bills increases originally projected in February have decreased on average from $366 to $271. We will continue going forward to measure the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic as we begin to prepare the 2021-2022 operating budget with its necessary assumptions and projections. So with that, I will pass the baton to Mr. Dakowitz, who will cover some of the recommended allocation changes to the operating budget.
Thank you, Mr. Burnett. I don't know what's in the agenda. Angela, do you have that 2-pager? Is that in the agenda, or we're going to have to share a screen?
I'll have to share my screen.
Okay, if we could give control to Angela so she could share her screen, thank you. So actually, Angela was in charge of working through all these adjustments and accommodating the requests by the Board of Estimate. So if it's okay, I will let Angela walk you through each of the items. It's a two-pager. On the first page, we showed what the items were, open items after the BET had all their meetings with the different departments. And on the second page, we listed how we accommodated them, how we shifted money from line item to line item without exceeding the cap that the council set. So Angela, I'll leave it to you.
Thank you. This is Angela Fogel, Budget Director. I laid out the departmental requests to the BET by department, and the line item shows exactly what account number that will be affected. The recommended column is the amount that CFO recommended based on all of the line item requests that the departments made. The next column, the finance cut result, this is what the number was for the recommended budget ultimately. And then the final column is the request that the department made to the BET. So the final column that's highlighted in black is the increase that the department is asking for that particular line item. And I'll just go through one by one. For the health department, it was 2 staffing issues that they're having. The part-time billing position, that will allow them to generate additional revenue. They just don't have the staff to bill for services that people come in to use the clinic. So that should pay for itself. And the public health nurse, the health department lost a grant funding for services that they provide for TB testing and STD testing. So this will allow them to continue those services being funded through the city now that they've lost that grant.
Excuse me, Angela?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Could you make your screen a little bit larger? I think we have some room. It just might be easier for everyone to read. There you go. Okay.
And then that's it for the health department. That was almost $71,000. And for economic and community development, Catherine Hebert, she does take advantage of interns in the summer. And I know that is a very efficient way to staff for in the summertime, but she gave those up because it was more important to fund the other professional services for the Vision Zero program and other programs. And also it was very important for Catherine to hire a parking assistant director for the park, and that position will be completely paid for by the parking authority. The parking authority has various accounts that they have shared services with the city. So there's a line item already that I think it's about $400,000 or $500,000 that the parking authority pays for accounting services, legal services, budgeting services. This will be in addition to those amounts that is transferred to the city from the parking authority every year. And for code, the blight inspector, that position also generates revenue for the blight fees. And that currently there are part-time inspectors. It'll be much more efficient if they hire a full-time dedicated staff to that position. And currently the part-time staffers are paid out of the special revenue fund where we collect the fees for the blight enforcement. So that position will not be in the operating budget. That will also be paid out of the special revenue fund for blight. And for conservation, this part-time admin position, this was in the cost-cutting frenzy. This position has been in the conservation department for years. So this was cut in error and decided to put back. The next one, the Department of the Economic and Community Development Chief. This was a request for meeting minutes. This and other administrative expenses. There is a balance in that account, so that was increased. It was zeroed out in the recommended budget, but increased to 5,000 as a compromise and meet halfway. And if necessary, it could be funded with a rollover of that balance. For DPW, Recreation and Parks had, there were several cuts to their department. What was very important to Nick Roberts was the part-time customer service positions that he felt they really can't perform their duties and maintain the level of services to the public necessary. So the BET agreed to increase that line item. And the police training and education, this is an amount that is contractual in the labor agreements. The police department is required to reimburse for tuition, and they needed to increase this budget. The cut was based on previous actuals, but they're now seeing greater numbers of staff going for degrees, advanced degrees. So the BET voted to increase that. The Chief of Staff's office, there have been over the years changes to the ordinances and a lot of public notices. If there's a change, the complete change has to be published in the paper. So those costs have been increasing. So they needed a few $1,000s in those accounts, which that was approved by the BET. And the fire department, these were fire inspectors that are currently staffed. That so if this wasn't increased back to the original request, this would have fallen short of their current budget, their current hired staff. And in IT, the IT interns were approved to put those back in. The interns were an area that seemed easy for cost cutting, but the interns for Karen Del Vecchio in the IT department are very valuable. They provide a lot of benefit, not only that it's a low cost labor, but also they bring a lot of ideas and new, since it's usually college students, they bring a lot to the department as well. The total of all of the approved increases is $292,816. And I'll scroll through the second page with specific line items of where we were able to reduce the budget to fund all of these increases without affecting the cap that was originally set by the Common Council. The first decrease we found from our health insurance consultant that the initial estimate that we were given for next year's health insurance costs was reduced by $172,296. So that was a major help to fund some of these increases. And in code enforcement, they have the part-time staff that they currently have for things like blight inspection. They are able now, because of the full-time position, to reduce $50,000 out of their part-time budget. DPW, Anthony Carr, to offset the Recreation and Parks increase, he more than compensated with an amount he was able to reduce in, I think that is other professional services. And there are other various costs that, based on actuals, that we could reduce slightly to arrive at the cap. For the police, these are the police various cuts. These were also based on actuals. The requested and the recommended amounts were padded a little, not much. So, but at this point, every little bit helped so that the cap didn't have to be increased. And ultimately at the bottom line, the number that we had to make up out of contingency is $12,411. And we have ample contingency for next year. So this won't affect the ability to cover any unexpected costs. So those cuts equal the $292,816 of all the increases that were approved by the BET.
Thank you, Angela.
You're welcome.
Mr. Burnett?
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. So with that, thank you, Angela, also, and Henry. So with that, those line item changes, the cap remains the same. So the budget will advance at this point to the BET as mentioned for final approval on June 1st. This was just a review, so no vote is necessary.
Okay, thank you. I know there's one other order of business, the council appointment to the Ethics Commission, so I will return it to Ms. Smith.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We do have, I would like to move the appointment of Tony Lopez to the Board of Ethics. This is a council appointment. And if anyone would like to speak on his behalf, Mr. Keegan.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. It's my honor and privilege to nominate Mr. Tony Lopez to the City of Norwalk's Board of Ethics. Mr. Lopez is without question an excellent candidate for this position. He's a committed member of our community. He's of strong moral character and simply stated, a man who has a very strong sense of right and wrong. City of Norwalk will be well served by Mr. Lopez's appointment to our Board of Ethics.
Any further discussion? Before you move the item, Ms. President, I've known Tony Lopez for a very, very long time. I can think of no person that would be better suited to serve on the Ethics Commission than Mr. Lopez. And I congratulate the council for coming up with this stalwart individual who is just an outstanding person.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. King calls the roll call vote on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Burnett,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Langella,
Aye.
Mr. Sacchinelli,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Huberman,
Aye.
Mr. Roberts,
Aye.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
You're on mute,
Ms.
Ms. Young.
Yes, sorry.
that's okay. Mr. Kides,
Yes.
Mr. Theodoridis,
Yes.
Mr. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Serenides,
Yes.
Mr. Livingston,
Yes.
Ms. Shanahan,
Yes.
15 ayes. You have a unanimous vote.
Thank you very much. Seeing no further business to come before the council, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Mr. Hooverman moves. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
That was enough. All in favor, opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you to the council and thank you for your hard work.